Here we have Monday's Tech A video newsletter on the 10th of December 2007. The Tech A video newsletter is a service provided by us at Insight, where we analyse the indices, the CAC, DAX, FTSE 100, Dow, NASDAQ and the Nikkei. And basically it's a projection over the next week as to a analysis of where we believe the indices are heading and what some interesting things to look out for along the way. So we'll start off with the CAC, and as we can clearly see with the CAC we have a resistance around about 5,750. If we look at the intraday data from today, we can see that it's still heading towards that 5,750 and looking to still hit that very strong resistance created by points of consolidation where it's bounced off previously. What this is likely to cause is a retrace and a consolidation, more than likely to land at around about the 5,600 mark. The thing with consolidations and the CAC and many of the other indices, so the European indices, the retracements tend not to be massive most of the time. By that, well, not so much massive, but sort of more immediate. If we can see where it has sort of reached points of resistance previously, and the same resistance we can see here is just gradually consolidated back down and retraced back down to the support. There has been points obviously where we've seen huge points of retracement, but on the whole what we tend to see is sort of gradual retracements, certainly when it starts to suffer from periods of consolidation. However, that doesn't mean to say that we're not going to see anything as dramatic as we've seen previously. But looking back on the last 4 months, we can see that despite this period of retracement up until just before December, we're just likely to see smaller points of retracement, so therefore the retracement's likely to land at around about 5,600 to 5,650. Now moving on to the DAX. The DAX too is reaching a point of resistance. We can see that quite clearly there. The resistance could cause a retrace as it hits as it starts to hit that resistance. If we look at the intraday data, we can see it's heading straight towards that resistance. So basically what we're looking for is a doji candle. It's a very thin candle, looks like a cross basically, or a spinning top. And what that basically shows is a huge slowdown in the market. Confirmed resistance at around about 8,000. And then a potential of a retrace, as we've seen previously, within this relatively broad consolidation. So there's a chance of a further retrace still. The reason why we've got these strong bullish moves within the market is because of the recent interest rate cuts in the UK. These have a knock-on effect, obviously, for other indices, and they tend to react. Certainly European indices tend to react when other countries, certainly large European countries, tend to cut interest rates or indeed increase them, has an adverse effect. So with the DAX we're likely to see hit resistance, which is heading straight towards now, and looking for a doji type candle following a possible retrace down towards around about 7,800. Now looking on to the FTSE 100. FTSE's managed to break a resistance last sort of few days. Not really surprising considering what we saw on Friday was the cut in interest rates. We do have some relatively strong activity just the last few days. Broke through resistance. It's now likely to create or hit another point of resistance. If we look at this consolidation along this period here, and we draw a line along the bottom, move it up, where it starts to hit most of the candles, sort of where it starts to get a bit busy, just before it gets busy. And we can see that we're now at a point where there's a potential of maybe a slight resistance. This isn't a massively strong one, although if we look at this period of consolidation here, and we look at where the majority of the candles are hitting the line I've just drawn, that's a likely point of resistance. So we're likely to see a bit of a slowdown. Therefore, considering that we do have a broader range consolidation further above that resistance line I've just drawn in, that this line here, that resistance line, is where things are likely to once again slow down. So one or two things are likely to happen. We're either going to get a retrace back down, which I don't think is likely considering how relatively bullish the market still is. We're likely to see just a move into this broad range consolidation, then a slowdown, just a consolidation more at this line. So that's the FTSE. Moving on now to everyone's favourite, the Dow. Dow's managed to break quite a key resistance at 13,600, although it's not a very strong break. There has been some very strong bullish activity in the last few days with the Dow. Some massive gains recently, and we do have a doji-like candle, so there is a possibility of the Dow retracing. However, what we do see is that it's broken through resistance, and even though we do have this very thin candle, that candle is just above the line. So what we need to see is a confirmation. Now, when the market opens later today, with this being, we're in the UK obviously, so the market opens around about 2:30 today. We need to see where that point of the market is opening, and if you get to see this, take a look at how the Dow is trading. If it's above 13,600, if it's remaining positive and bullish beyond that. If it is, there's a likelihood that this 13,600 becomes a good point of support. If that is the case, then we're likely to see a possibility of further gains, maybe even up to 1,400 over the next week or so. If, however, it's below 13,600 or is consolidating quite tightly at 13,600, there's a chance that we could be entering a consolidation between around about 13,400 and 13,600, with 13,600 being the resistance. Moving on now to the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq has suffered a little bit recently. There's been some huge drops, some consolidation, and it's trying to fight its way back up. Strong resistance created by the bottom of this period of consolidation. So we're likely to see a relatively tight consolidation between 2,100 and 2,150, certainly with there being a doji type candle similar to the one that we saw in the Dow. Look for the Dow to take the lead, and then this will obviously push the Nasdaq further still. If the Dow breaks through and continues and proves that the resistance line was broken, then this is likely to cause a break in this resistance with the Nasdaq. However, with the Nasdaq, that's unlikely to move above beyond the consolidation. And now finally, it's the NIC at 1600. True break at 1600, although relatively negative, so there is an opportunity for it to move further down. We could see further gains from this. What we need to see is a bullish candle or even a doji type candle above this point of resistance. That would then confirm the support, and then there's an opportunity then for it to rise above to around about 16,400 at around about this point of resistance. So that's this week's TechA Videos newsletter on the 10th of December 2007.